you were involved in a car accident that made you quadriplegic. Can you tell us about what happened and what your recovery process was like?
Yeah, of course. So I was driving home from Las Vegas when I was 20 years old, and it was on a Sunday. And way too early in the morning, I fell asleep behind the wheel, or I dozed off and overcorrected the vehicle, and we launched off an overpass. From there, it was I believe it was like a month in the hospital, and then almost 3 months in rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And there is where I actually met my occupational therapist, who completely changed my life, because I got my car accident on Sunday. Monday, I was supposed to start cosmetology school, and she is the reason why I fell in love with makeup again. I thought I could never do it again, being a quadriplegic, not having my full hand function. And she would just open up that door and said, "Here's your makeup, let's figure it out." And yeah, nearly 10 years later, October 24th this year will be 10 years. I will reach my decade of my injury.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, almost 10 years later.
Okay. And then if you feel comfortable, you also if you feel comfortable, you mention that you also had cancer.
Yes.
And so can you just tell us a little bit, don't have to get into detail, but about your cancer, because now you've really overcome two things. You've overcome being a quadriplegic and also beating cancer.
Yes. So what I like to say, I mean, it's awful, but I like to say that bad things come in threes. So that's kind of my life. It first started off with the first car accident that made me a quadriplegic. Then 2 months after, on Christmas Day, they let me go home for 6 hours from rehab. And we got hit by a drunk driver. We didn't even make it past the first light. I almost lost my mom. It was my first time back in a car since my accident. And that happened. And then 2 years after that, I ended up with a rare tumor. It's called a desmoid tumor. It is located in my large back muscle, and it's caused by traumatic injury to the body, where it just makes your cells go haywire. I believe they said it's like 4 in a million people have it. So I was like, of course, my luck. But yeah, I did radiation for that. And then actually next week, 2 weeks from now, it will be my 7-year anniversary of being cancer free too. So
congratulations again. That's really, really exciting. So you mentioned a quote on your website, and I'm going to quote it. Normal is an illusion. What is normal to the spider is chaos to the fly. Can you describe your normal?
Yeah, I feel like my normal is different from everyone's normal, and I hate when people sit there and they say, "Oh, like, I wish I was normal," like newly injured spinal cord injuries, or anyone with a different ability, who say that they wish that they were normal. Normal is literally whatever you are. It's like, that is your normal. And when things change in your life, you have to create your new normal. That's a part of life. It's just rolling with the punches. And so normal to me is, using 2 hands to grab a cup, pushing and gliding through life, using adaptive tools to put on jeans, like lacing my mascara wand between my fingers. That's all normal to me. And so when people say that it's inspiring or whatever it may be, I'm glad some people find hope in it, but it's just my life, so that's kind of how I feel. Like normal is just whatever you are, whatever you choose to make it. Because no two people are alike.
Absolutely. One person can be this way, another person can be this way. And also, everyone who has a disability or a difference, manages in a, different way. So I agree. You have to create your new normal.
Tell people who are struggling is you have to be optimistic, but also a realist when you have a disability. Like, you want to be optimistic that things are going to change and you're going to get better, but you have to be realistic to be happy in the moment. You have to be realistic. Like, right now, this is my life right now, and that's okay. you know, and I'm still hopeful. It's okay to be both. So that's something that I usually tell people who are struggling with, you know, you don't have to accept where you're at. You don't have to accept your disability. You just have to face reality that it is what it is today and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Of course. And so getting into what you do, the makeup artist, what inspired, well, it's one of the things you do. What inspired you to become a makeup artist?
I've always loved makeup, hair and makeup. Since I was little, I've always loved the idea of transforming something and making something feel good. I actually was a dog groomer at the time of my car accident. So I used to do that with dogs. And then I was like, well, I want my client to be less wiggly. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go into hair and makeup. And so I love the feeling of making something just feel an ounce better, just something, just a little bit better. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need makeup or your hair done in order to feel like beautiful. It's just, you know, if someone needed that, I paint my feelings on my face every day, which is a great way of expressing myself. And someone else needs help expressing that. That's what I wanted to do too.
Amazing. And so how do you do your makeup? There's specific ways that I've seen in your videos where, you know, in doing makeup on other people.
Yeah, so I'm actually in my vanity room right now.
Show us.
Yeah, so like I open a lot of things with my mouth, so like this, and I lace in between my fingers like this. So I do a lot of that. I use two hands to do like sometimes on my eyeshadow with the thin brushes. Yeah, two hands for a lot of things. I open up my mouth. I use my mouth to open up containers. Yeah, I don't know. It's my normal. Like, so it's hard for me to remember like what's so different because I've been doing this for 10 years now that it's like I'm faster than some able bodies at doing their makeup because it's so routine for me.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you say that because also like, well, I was born with mine, but I do a lot of different things. Well, I use mostly only my left hand and I just use my right hand to assist. But I do, you know, I just do everything one-handed and, you know, it's something that I just think of as my normal. I don't really think about even what using two hands would be like. I mean, I know that there are certain things that probably would frustrate me less if I did have, you know, the use of both hands, but, you know, I don't really think twice about it. And it's great to hear that you don't either. And a lot of people that I speak with feel the same way.
Good.
So that's a good thing. Aside from your wheelchair, are there any other support devices that you use?
I don't use anything except for it's like a crochet hook.
Mm-hmm.
My mom came up with the idea. She took off one of the little pieces and it helps me zip up my pants. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's my stubbornness when I first got injured or what, but I was just like, I don't want to have to rely on a device. I don't want to be out on vacation and lose it and not know how I'm going to be independent. So you know, it used to take me 45 minutes to get in my car because I refused to, you know, use anything adaptive. Like, and now I got it down in like a minute and a half. And it's just consistent practice and figuring out what works for you. But yeah, outside of that, I'm trying to think. Outside of my wheelchair and that hook, I don't really use anything.
Okay. And that's absolutely amazing. You know, what are your thoughts on inclusion and accessibility?
I do feel as if there needs to be some kind of education course in high school.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, like, or like it be a requirement to, you know, be an aide in a class or for like, you know, or something, because I feel like even myself, I had no idea that you could become paralyzed when I became paralyzed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't educated. I wasn't like in this, you know, beautiful community that I'm now in. So I was blind to like all the different abilities that you could have and all these things. And, you know, how people in a wheelchair, like, it's just, I feel like that is something that would be beneficial, especially because our community is so strong now. And 10 years ago, I didn't see anyone like me on social media doing what we're doing, like the Roulettes and myself. And now it's like all over the place and everybody's dancing and everybody's doing OOTDs. So I feel like it shouldn't be like a huge shocker for people to see a woman out by herself or, at the mall or, going up to them and being like, oh, it's such an inspiration that you're out. Like, it's too close-minded. Like, people need to be educated on it. So I feel like that would help society so much, is if we weren't seen so different.
No, I totally agree. And this is the first time I've actually heard somebody say, why don't we have some type of class? And, I think, in school, people especially, there's psychology courses offered. I'm talking about like high school, and then people get into the medical health field in college and so forth. They learn about this stuff, but otherwise, like, no, it should be a requirement, kind of like, sex education. A lot of high schools have that course. And I totally agree. Is there anything that you do to further advance and help with inclusion and accessibility in your community?
I try my best to encourage not only myself, but the Roulettes as well. We try our best to encourage people with different abilities to post their life, to share their life, because the more people who do it, who make this a normal, like, the more people are educated. Like, there is power in numbers. So we actually just hosted a social media challenge a few months ago when COVID first started. And it was awesome to see so many people get out of their comfort zone and post how they transfer, how they do their makeup, how they do, it was just, I don't know. I mean, we definitely need more of that, because the solution to this problem starts with us. Like, we need to make it a normal for ourselves and show the world how we live, so that it's not like it's normal to everybody,
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, you mentioned, and which we're going to get into, is you are a part of the Roulettes. So for anyone who doesn't know what the Roulettes are, can you tell us a little bit about the Roulettes, and then specifically what its purpose and mission is?
Yes, of course. So the Roulettes is a wheelchair dance team. We're based out of LA, and we want to encourage women with disabilities to get out there and have women empowerment. There is our social media. We host challenges all the time. We try to connect. We host a Roulettes experience. This year will be virtual for obvious reasons, but it's basically an experience, a big sleepover for women in chairs to come dance. I host a makeup class. There's a fitness class by Maria, stretching classes. So it's just a big community. I know there's solely like us, like the team, but we are so much bigger than that, because it's such a big community of women who support us, who join in on our girls' nights. And that's like awesome too, because that's all virtual. You can be home, be in your PJs. We have like a wine night, like everyone like sips on wine and have girl time and talk about things that, you wouldn't be so comfortable talking to your able-bodied friends about. Like, so that's what we are. We're awesome. Check us out.
And so how many people are a part of the Roulettes?
Yeah, so the core group, there is 6 of us, and then we also have an additional 2.
Okay. And now what's the process to be a Roulette? I actually should mention, and I just didn't go through the entire list of people that I've interviewed, but I actually did interview Ali Stroker, who was one of the first Roulettes, or something of what Joe mentioned. So, and that's actually how I found out about her. Yeah, so what's the process like to be a Roulette? And, is there a time commitment? Is this some type of, this is a paid opportunity, correct? How does it all work, the logistics?
So to be honest with you, it's a lot of just friendship, like that it's built on. When I started 5, 6, I think coming up on 6 years, when I started 6 years ago, it was basically 30 people at a dance boot camp, and now we have, nearly 200 women in chairs coming. So when I first started, it was so small that I was just like, hey, like, want to be a part of the team? Okay, cool. Like, but now we like to have people who attend the Roulettes experience. That's when we had our little sis program. Then they can apply to be a little sis. And then from there, you have like the stages to progress up. But yeah, we don't have the little sis program as of this year. Maybe we'll eventually bring it back, but we do have the Boundless Babe Society. So anyone can really sign up for that as well. And that is courses that you can take with Chelsea, with Maria. And it's basically like a little sis program. Yeah, so that's how you kind of get involved. Some things are paid, some things are not. And it's just, we love each other, like we're here to support each other and we come together to make it happen.
Yeah, and support and friendship is one of the most important things to have, especially when you're different and not necessarily, and other people who don't have a difference or disability necessarily understand. And
yeah, I can talk to my best friends who are able-bodied, like about like the way my body works. But it's different communicating with my wheelchair friends because of, the Roulettes, because they give you advice back where your able-bodied friends don't have that ability to do so, and they can't say, oh, I totally get it, because they don't. So it's nice to have both worlds,
Absolutely, I totally agree. And it's a gift to have this type of friendship as well. So what advice would you give to somebody who has a disability? They can be a quadriplegic, they could be someone, who, has spinal bifida. They also could have an invisible disability such as, ADHD, emotional health, mental illness.
Yeah, no. One of my main advice is, be optimistic but realistic. And I feel like that's something that I truly carry on. And I try to push that on everyone as much as possible, because I feel like we can be our worst enemy in that sense, where we get inside of our head and, we are the reason why we're being held back. So that, and, also that, I was just on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, like just live your life the best way that you can. Make your dreams come true, but don't compare them to others. I feel like that's so important. Is like, I'm a different makeup artist, but that doesn't mean my dreams are any smaller than someone who is what society considers normal. So they're not smaller, they're the same. I just have to find a different way in. Mm-hmm. And what makes us different makes us unique. I don't feel as if, like, if I wasn't the quadriplegic makeup artist, if I didn't make my hands my brand, I don't think I'd be who I am today on social media, because there's so many makeup artists. But I took my my ability, my disability, and made it a brand, and made it, what makes me different, makes you stand out. Turn that negative into a positive. And don't listen to haters on social media, because they're all, just get rid of them. Delete the comments.
I totally agree. It's hard. I mean, a lot of people can get attacked, and it's unfortunate. But it's important, like, you with the Roulettes, and you just as a person, and other people, to be so supportive of, one another. What advice would you give to a family member or a caregiver that has either a child or an adult, or is a spouse, or so forth?
I'm so ready for this question. Don't enable them. Make them work. Make them work. Don't enable, because oh man, I can't tell you how many times I've met people in wheelchairs who, like, I watch and everything's just given. And, my mom was the same way. God bless her. God bless my dad. Like, they did everything for me. But there was something in me that was just like, well, let me try. Like, I decided. And then I rebelled against them because I was so upset that they just kept trying to help her. I'm like, step back. Mm-hmm. And that's how I ended up learning to drive. That's how I ended up dressing myself. I moved out 3 years ago, and I have a roommate, but she's not my caregiver. I literally do everything for myself, no matter how long it takes me. To be honest, most of the time I'm making her dinner too. So like, you know, don't enable, because yes, I know you want to be there. Yes, I know you want to support and you don't want to see them struggle, but that struggle is what is going to make them stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and also wait for them to ask. I hate when people try and step in and just do things when it's like, wait, just ask if I need help. It's okay. Just ask and I'll tell you if I do or don't, you know? So
Right.
that's my thing. I don't know, I could be like a personal issue with me, but yeah.
Oh, again, it's great advice. So something that we haven't actually spoken about is your family, and so how they have supported you. You mentioned a little bit about them just being like, obviously, just really empowering to you. Do you have any other, do you have siblings? Can you just talk a little bit about how your family has played a role in your growth and development?
And I say this often, I know it's really bad, but I couldn't have been more blessed to have this situation because I have a family of doctors, physical therapists, OTs, like that's my family. That's what they do. So I was kind of like blessed to, and honestly, I didn't know what PT, OT, and all that stuff was before. And then when I got injured, they come in and they're like, oh, well, this is what I do. And I'm like, oh, now it makes sense, you know? So I'm very blessed. I have that support. I have the educated support. So I'm very blessed in that sense. But outside of that, emotional support, you know, my dad has always raised me saying there's no such thing as I can't. And that was when I was really little. And I carry that on to this new journey that I've been on for 10 years. When I had the cancer, you know, like through breakups and everything, like that has always been a huge part of my life, is that, you know, my brother was one of my biggest fans. He passed away a few years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that was like really hard. It's his birthday next Tuesday. He was living out in Dubai because he was in the military. And he ended up staying out in Dubai and working at the airports out there. And I remember when I got injured, I was in the hospital. He flew in and surprised me. Yeah, I just love him dearly. I just dream about him a few days ago. But then I have a twin sister.
Okay.
I have a identical sister. So that was, I think, challenging in the beginning for me with her, because we're basically the same person, and I got to see her walk, which is like me walking, and it was just like, well, this is just kind of hard, you know? But she would never let me make a wheelchair jokes. She was always so worried about my injury, about me falling. She was just like the hover, you know? But now she's just like, you got it, let her do it. Like, so, and I don't know where I'd be without her. She literally is my best friend. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. And you know, my mom's always a phone call away. Like, I call her, she will stay on the phone with me for hours. I'll call her at 2:00 in the morning, she'll answer. So yeah. She's awesome.
And is your family near you, or you're based out of California?
Yes. So I'm right outside of LA, about 30 minutes from LA. And then my twin is about 8 minutes from me. And then from there is like a 30-minute drive to my mom. So we're all.
Okay. All right. So you're all very kind of close and everything, which is nice. With what you know now, what would you have told yourself 5 years ago? Or even 10 years ago when you just had your injury, as well as then, you know, a few years later, overcoming cancer?
I'm conflicted with this question, but only because I don't think I would give myself the heads up on anything in my life. I think I would have let myself struggle and feel the pain of every part of it, because it literally created who I am. And I'm so blessed, you know? I know that my life wasn't like the easiest, but it wasn't like awful either, because I have such good family and support. So I don't know if I would give myself a heads up, because it also, if I would have given myself a heads up, like be strong, be this, be that, I don't think it would have made all the wins throughout these years feel as good as they feel, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think that's important. It's okay to feel pain. I think I think people forget that and people neglect that. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to go through a struggle. Like when you overcome it, it makes everything else in life so much greener, you know?
Totally. Well, this has been so wonderful. Is there anything else you want to say? If you want, words of encouragement. Also, you're part of the Roulettes. I like to ask, like we've spoken about, but I like to ask, how do people find you if they want to reach out or, watch you, TikTok, Instagram, Roulettes, whatever it may be.
So on TikTok and on Instagram, I am the letter U walk _ I glide. And then the Roulettes is at Roulettes _ LA. And that is on Instagram and TikTok as well. And then we're also on Facebook as Roulettes.
Sounds good. All right. Well, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.